What are living things? Unit 1. All living things share some basic characteristics: nutrition, respiration, excretion, reproduction, growth, movement, and interaction. Nutrition. Living things need food to obtain energy. Most plants use sunlight to make their own food. Animals eat plants and other animals. Respiration. Living things exchange gases with the environment. Animals take oxygen from the air and give out carbon dioxide. Excretion. Living things produce waste. Humans get rid of their waste when they go to the toilet, perspire, and when they breathe out. Reproduction. Living things produce young. These new living things continue their life after their parents die. Growth. Living things use energy from food to grow. When living things grow, they get bigger and they change. Movement. Living things can move. Plants only move some parts very slowly, but many animals can run, jump, walk, swim, or fly. Interaction. Living things interact with the world around them. Most living things react to touch, light, temperature, and sound. The life processes of living things. Although living things have many differences, they all perform these life processes: nutrition, interaction, and reproduction. However, different living things carry out these processes in different ways. Nutrition. All living things take nutrients from the environment and change them into energy. Living things need energy in order to grow and develop. Different organisms use different methods to get the energy they need. Plants are producers. They make their own food by taking in organic substances from their environment and transforming them into a plant food called glucose. This process is called photosynthesis. Animals are consumers. They can't manufacture their own food, so in order to obtain the energy they need, they must feed on other living things. Decomposers are living things which feed on the remains of dead plants and animals. Fungi and bacteria are examples of decomposers. All living things interact with their environment. A change in the environment can cause a reaction. We call this change a stimulus, and we call this reaction a response. When we touch something very hot, our response is to move our hand away. Animals use their sense organs to detect stimuli. Although some plants, such as the Venus flytrap, have basic sense organs, most plants have no sense organs. Plants do, however, grow towards light, and plant roots grow towards water. Reproduction. This is the process that allows living things to create new living things that will be similar to themselves. Reproduction is essential for the continuation of the species. Different living things reproduce in different ways. Lions have young, called cubs, that grow to be adult lions. Butterflies lay eggs that hatch as caterpillars and develop into adults, and some bacteria divide to make copies of themselves. Cells. All living things are made up of very small units called cells. Cells are the building block of life. A cell is the smallest living unit which makes up a living thing. We need a microscope to see cells because they are very small. Some living things or organisms have one cell. These are unicellular organisms. Other organisms are made up of many cells and are called multicellular. There are more than 10 billion cells in the human body. Because cells are living things, they perform the life processes of nutrition, reproduction, and interaction. They take in nutrients and they reproduce by dividing into two again and again. Cells can be different shapes and sizes. Different cells carry out different functions. How are living things organized? A cell is the smallest living unit. Cells can carry out the same function together to form tissue. Tissue is made up of many muscle cells grouped together. Tissue groups together to form organs. Organs, such as the heart, contains different types of tissue which work together to perform a particular function. Organs that work together form systems, such as the circulatory system. When all the systems work together, they form an organism. An organism is a living thing. How are living things classified? Living things can be classified into 5 groups called kingdoms. Living things or organisms in one kingdom share similarities and are different from organisms in other kingdoms. Monera Kingdom. All the living things in the Monera Kingdom are unicellular, so they all consist of a single cell. Unicellular organisms can be found on land, in the water, or the air, and inside other living things. Bacteria belong to the Monera Kingdom. Bacteria can be helpful or harmful. Some bacteria can cause illnesses, while other bacteria are used to make food, such as cheese and yogurt. Some bacteria feed on dead plants and animals. Protist Kingdom. Living things in the Protist Kingdom are usually unicellular, but some protists are multicellular. Like bacteria, protists can be helpful or harmful. Most protists are found in the water. The amoeba is a unicellular protist which takes in its food by absorbing it. Algae is a protist that can be unicellular or multicellular. Members of the fungus kingdom can be also either unicellular or multicellular. Yeast is an example of a unicellular organism, and mushrooms are examples of multicellular organisms. Fungi can't make their own food. They take the nutrients they need from the remains of dead plants and animals. All plants in the plant kingdom are multicellular organisms. They make their own food by taking energy from the sun. This process is called photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, plants produce oxygen, which is then released into the air. Plants can't move around, but they can move certain parts, and they can react to stimuli, such as light and water. Some algae can be classified as plants because they perform photosynthesis. We can classify plants into two small groups: flowering plants and non-flowering plants. All animals in the animal kingdom are multicellular. They can't make their own food, so they get the energy they need to survive by feeding on other living things. Animals release carbon dioxide into air through the process of respiration. Most animals can move around, and they use their sense organs to interact with their surroundings. We can classify animals into two smaller groups: vertebrates and invertebrates.